But I do want to talk a little bit about the Mandalorian before we go on to other like Marvel announcements and stuff like that. So the latest episode of the Mandalorian came out. My man Bill Burr, I am so happy
Yep.
for that man. This was his. We're talking spoilers, by the way. So number one, Bill Burr was freaking awesome. Number two, Boba Fett's suit is fucking awesome. Number three, Slave One and the 30 seconds that I saw Slave One in is fucking awesome. Those are my thoughts on this latest episode.
Awesome.
No, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I love that it's we had a plot, but it was its own contained story from beginning to end, and I liked how I thought this would bother me honestly that every 30 seconds Bill Burr cracked a joke, but he's a comedian, it's what he does, and so it felt like he really wasn't hampered by his ability to just tell jokes. So from the beginning on, at first I was like, oh god, this is going to be annoying, but no, actually I really liked it. Him a lot more this time around because he was really given free reign to kind of do what he wanted. And my favorite joke is when he first gets there, he's like, "Oh, you remind me of this other guy I knew." And then their whole camaraderie and their whole back and forth to me really worked, progressing their story,
That was hilarious.
going to the prison and kind of seeing the village. And I love the whole blurred lines aspect. I think they did this better than in Rogue One. They did a little bit, but they expanded upon it here. How these places are taken over by the Empire, New Republic, and they're just kind of, hey, I don't know what to compare it to, but they're just taken over and assaulted by this
Yeah.
organization, and it ruins their whole entire livelihood. And they kind of got into that with the pirates and different parts of the empire that were lording over this village, but they did it in a different way this time, and I appreciated that. Versus like with Bryce Dallas Howard, it's like, oh, we have to fight against it. They just did their own solo mission here, which I loved, and they had that whole scene where they had to get the codes, and Bill Burr's like, I know these guys, I work with them, so then they go in together. That was awesome. They really had to work together, and that's kind of the cool part I liked about it, was it really forced the two of them together instead of just being like, oh, I'm gonna do my own thing. And they had that great conversation about the battle that Bill Burr was talking about, and the officer just kind of like digging his heels in. He knows he's goading Bill Burr into this conversation, and he knows it's pissing him off, but he doesn't care, and he's just talking about the history and how much it hurt his people, and then he's like, "Fuck it," and he just kills him. And
That was
that
such
was
a cool moment.
such a
Like that
great
that was
scene.
such a cool moment.
Yeah, and then everything, the escape and the whole. I loved how it was all. It's kind of like a reminded me of a heist film. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a surprisingly mature moment for The Mandalorian, and I will give them credit for that. I still, I feel like I'm going crazy. I still don't see why The Mandalorian couldn't spend an extra 15 minutes per episode. Like, I'm not asking for an extra 15 minutes of, like, explosions and action. I'm asking for, like, 15 more minutes of just, like, talking and, like, a little bit of development before we, like, fly into the plot. I just don't see how that's not possible. It seems
Yeah,
a little crazy to me. So I got like any of these, I still kind of got that feeling a little bit where it's like, okay, and then we're done, and then we're gonna let Bill Burr go, and now he's gone. And I was like, okay, all right. But I did enjoy the arc. I thought it was an interesting arc. It was super cool seeing the Empire juggernauts that you see little bits of them in Revenge of the Sith. That was just dope. The thing with the pirates was pretty cool. I liked the idea of. I think my favorite part of the episode was when they're driving up to the camp and Bill Burr just starts calling out the Mando on all of his stuff, where he's like, everybody has a belief system. You have a belief system, and then all of a sudden you take your helmet off and you bend that belief system because you have to. And it's like that whole conversation that they had,
yeah,
I thought was super interesting, and I thought that was a super cool way to I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. Like it was a cool way to develop the Mandalorian through Bill Burr's character, by kind of like calling him out on some of his stuff. I heard a lot of people talk about this episode being like, "Oh my gosh, you want character development? There was so much character development. The Mandalorian took off his helmet." And I was like, "Yeah, he took off his helmet, but like, are you literally telling me he would have been like, no, I'm not taking off my helmet. I'm gonna fuck this entire mission over because my stupid helmet rule. It's like, dude, you moron. If he had done that, I mean, it was a fine moment. I just don't know if it was like this glorious character moment for the Mandalorian.
yeah.
Like, I
Especially
was like,
since
oh, he showed himself to be not completely incompetent as far as strategy, yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and they had been
um,
leading. They've been leading up to that moment all season with Katie Sackhoff, and everyone, literally everyone he's talked to the entire season has been like, "This is the way," but is it really? And that's sort of what they've been hinting at the whole entire season. Yeah, he takes his helmet off for sure, but I mean, it's not. It's more the
yeah.
principle of the whole different sides of Mandalorians that hopefully we're going to get to. I'm still hoping we can explore old versus new because I'm still so invested in this part of the show. Hopefully we can get there eventually.
Well, I mean, do you know anything? Cause see, that's that. It's like weird, but I actually know a lot about that because of the fan film we did. So it's like it's not even old versus new. It's like there's like different clans, and it's actually cool because it. I feel like they took a lot of notes from, like I said earlier on a few episodes back, from like real world religions, where it's like the history of Mandalore or whatever. Like, oh, these different groups broke off and went to this planet, and then from that group there was another extremist group from here, and I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds like every religion ever. Like
Yeah.
this is crazy. But yeah, I agree. I would be interested in seeing a little bit more. I thought it was a cool episode. I mean, I didn't really care about the Boba Fett paint thing. I mean, it was cool. I was like, all right, cool. He kind of like touched up his suit a little bit. I mean, it kind of makes me question like why he didn't do that in the original movies. But like, what was he like? Hey guys, we gotta stop. I need to paint my suit. Now
Yeah.
we'll go save this guy from prison.
Pretty much.
All right. I mean, like I'm fine with it. It was just like okay. All right, whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Is next week's episode the last episode?
Episode 8, yeah, next week's season finale.
Yeah. So we'll see. I actually thought they were gonna stay with Bill Burr and use him in the finale. And they aren't, which makes me think that they're probably gonna run into Bo-Katan and her group of people at some point on this mission.
Probably.
But
Plus,
we'll see.
if
I don't know how it's gonna go.